Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad everyone else is here with me. We have the same panels we've had for the past couple of weeks, and I'm excited to welcome Marisa back by popular demand. We'll say hello to everyone first. We'll start with our guest host, Marisa. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to True Story Live. We're going to have fun tonight. I can't wait to jump into this one. How you doing, everybody?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And we'll also hear from my wonderful, beautiful birthday cake making wife, Jen.
Hey guys, great to be here. Glad Maurice is here. Glenn's doing good. We're all doing good. Happy Sunday, guys. Can't wait to dig in.
You sound pretty good to me, Jen. Your
okay, good.
Sounds okay.
It's no longer echoing. Yay.
No echoing. Great. Okay. And we'll also say hello to our friend from Australia, Glenn. If you would say hello to the peoples.
Yeah, hi. To Debbie.
Yeah, Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Did you jump out of the cake? What were you
That
wearing?
would have been cool. It was big enough to.
Yeah. All right. And if you're listening to the broadcast for the first time, I'm Jason Cripps, and I'm the main host of the broadcast. But I have this lovely panel to help me look good when we're doing a broadcast. And tonight's topic is Raison d'etre, two strong hearts. That's the topic for tonight. This one was, again, written by Glenn, and it's a continuation of a topic that we have been talking about the past couple of weeks, either in the chat, and we started a discussion about this particular ins and outs of this topic last week. And so I hope everyone enjoys it. I know that I looked ahead at the write-up and the questions. I sometimes wait until, it usually is a cold read, but I thought it pertinent to read it, and there are some questions that I can't wait to answer. So we're going to hop into that in just a minute. We only have a couple in the chat, and that's okay. Jen, if you want to say hello to the couple people that have joined us right at the beginning.
Sure. All right, we've got Debbie first up after me. But guest-wise, chat-wise. Debbie S. is here. Hey, Debbie. John Dons is here. He says, hi, all. Hey to you, John. Yeah. And I think that's it so far. Well, hello, everybody. Hello, peoples.
Glad to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Yeah, John. When he shows up, usually it's later in the broadcast, so it's nice to have him here right at the beginning. All right.
He's an early bird today.
He's an early bird. You know what they say about the early bird, right?
They always get the good TSL broadcast.
That's right. That's right. I think you got it. All right, we're going to hop right in. Tonight's topic is Raison d'etre. There's my attempt at a French accent. Two strong hearts. And starts with a quote. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. That's by Pablo Picasso. Tonight's broadcast is about our gift, our purpose, and the role of others who come into our lives. Why do people come? Do they just tend to show up, or perhaps they show up right on cue? Are we speaking of coincidence, chance, or divine/cosmic intervention for a reason? It's a deep philosophical stuff. It's all deep philosophical stuff. What we should remember is when others show up for us, we are showing up for them too. Before we go on, it's music time. Another one for you, Aussie Billy of the Goldie. Two Strong Hearts by John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John. The link is in the description. Thinking of Picasso's quote, what of those gifts, if any, can be given away? By that, I mean a universal gift, one with no boundaries to cross, one that costs nothing, one that breaches cultural divides and does not ask, what do you believe or what entity do you worship? Okay, it's a setup. If love is not the gift, I may be in trouble. We'll see. I needed a way to get to the core of the broadcast, which is interaction between people, regardless of how they see the world and beyond. We'll begin with dating, because that was a focus in the chat a couple of weeks ago. Quotes below. Quote, when dating, it's very important to choose a saved believer, since we're not supposed to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, end quote. Continued, what we don't want to be doing is to be dating someone else's future wife or husband, as the case may be. Also, I know we're not allowed to date unbelievers as Christians. And the last one in this group, it's so hard to find women who have the right gospel. I hope I find someone someday. That's a common theme. My questions are, to Jen, Nez, and Cripps first, is it okay to date a non-believer if one is open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise? Is it okay to connect with someone who has the, quote, wrong gospel, end quote? If God is all-knowing, would he not choose who he sends to you? Do you think God is inviting you to experience all connections for a reason? Notwithstanding, you may have personal convictions about doing so. There are other questions. What's okay? What's not? I am leaving it to the expertise of Cripps, etc., to add what they wish. For me, it's simple. Everyone is equal. Men, women, believers, non-believers. There's nothing to consider. Just treat people as one finds them. Beyond dating, what if one has taken the next step and finds themselves in a relationship with a person of different beliefs? As Linda Cripps said, quote, this situation is a miracle, and it's wonderful, and it's extremely difficult to come to grips with. This situation calls us both to stretch to see a view of life that is very different from the way most perceive love and their choices and the picture that is their life, end quote. It's on the table for discussion. Relationships-wise, how do you see your life? Do you offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving same in return? Is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? My universe has simple messages. Some are, be open to possibility. Outcome is not my business. Live calm. Don't deny truth. Share your gift. What about yours? To close, something to think on. How true. Quote, my heart is a traitor, the boy said to the alchemist when they paused to rest the horses. It doesn't want to go on. Another one, that makes sense, the alchemist answered. Naturally, it's afraid that in pursuing your dream, you might lose everything you've won. Well then, why should I listen to my heart? Answer, because you will never again be able to keep it quiet. Even if you pretend not to have heard what it tells you, it will always be there inside you, repeating to you what you're thinking about life and about the world. From The Alchemist by Pablo Picasso. All right, there we go. Oh, lots of juicy questions to ask tonight. Thank you for that, Glenn. All right, one moment. I'm going to move my screen here. There we go. All right, so we'll dive right in. Let me just check the chat, see if anyone else popped in. We have BB Truth. Welcome. We're glad they're here. Also, Janet popped in early. We've got a couple early birds tonight. Hello, Janet. Hope you are doing well. And I think that's it for now. So as people pop in, we will try to say hello to everyone and make sure everyone feels welcome. All right. Okay. So first question, why do people come? Let me read the quote again. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Pablo Picasso. All right. So why do people come? Do they just tend to show up, or perhaps they show up right on cue? Are we speaking of coincidence, chance, or divine / cosmic intervention for a reason? Marisa, how about you start tonight's questions and answers session? What do you think? Why do people come? Do they just tend to show up, or perhaps they show up right on cue? Are we speaking of coincidence, chance, or divine cosmic intervention for a reason?
I believe that God allows people to come into our way. I'm not saying that our adversary, Satan, can't bring people into our path as well, but
Sure.
it's nothing that God doesn't know about and nothing that God can't get us through. And all of it is for our betterment. Even the people who deal us the worst, those experiences are there. Why does God let good things happen to, or bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
That to learn and grow and get tempered. You're not going to grow and be tempered if you're coddled and protected in a bubble all the time. You're not. You're not.
Right. Right.
You have to go through this world, and in Christ you overcome all of the temptations and hardships and loneliness and heartbreak and etc.
Mm-hmm.
But you still got to go through it. That's life. That quote by Picasso is particularly striking. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have gifts, and we're all here to share those gifts.
Yeah.
And those can be many different things.
Yeah.
Those can be time spent. Those can be, reaching out, doing something motivated by love and not by personal gain.
Beautiful.
I think it's what we're all really supposed to do here.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I'm babbling against it.
No, you're not babbling at all. That was good. Thank you. That the quote from Picasso is very different than the one that I've heard. He who dies with the most toys wins. Very different than a lot of mantras out there that seem to be about accumulating wealth. And yeah, the idea of giving, finding your gift and giving it away is beautiful. And I think it's also biblical. But we'll get more into that when it comes to me. I'll say a quick hello to Kellyanne Dean, who popped in, and also Believe is in the chat. So thank you guys all for coming tonight. Hope that you feel welcome. Okay, and we're gonna do ladies first. In fact, I'll move her up to the top right there. There we go. So we don't seem misogynist or male chauvinistic.
There's no chance of that.
No,
you guys are gentlemen.
no. Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Jen? Why do people come? Do they just tend to show up, or perhaps they show up right on cue? Are we speaking of coincidence, chance, or divine cosmic intervention for a reason why they would show up?
I don't believe coincidence anymore. I think it's a God thing, in my opinion. I completely agree with Marisa. I think that God allows. Sometimes He brings people into our lives. I think sometimes the adversary can as well, and God sees all.
Mm-hmm.
So He knows the outcome of that connection or explosion.
Yeah.
so yeah, I completely am on the same page as Nez. I do think everything happens for a reason. I don't think there's anything to be discounted or thrown into another pile. And hopefully, if we're willing and watching and open to it, to learn from everything, I think there's opportunity to learn from any situation or person that comes into our lives, even if brief.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you, Jen.
What do you think?
I'm not going to deviate from what both of the ladies have said. I agree with both of them. I have given this a lot of thought, and I'm not going to speed ahead since Glenn has made it a point to ask some really good questions. But there's one I'm dying to answer, so I'll try to keep my answer limited to the actual question, knowing what's coming. But on this point, yes. I believe that God knows what kind of people we need and what kind of circumstances that we need. I like the word that Marisa used, temper. I look at this life as the kiln for which the fire of God prepares us. The idea of, fire making the pottery stronger. And we've talked in previous broadcasts about the Japanese. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but Glenn could rescue me on this. The pottery that we've discussed in the past, Glenn. You know the name of it?
Sorry, Crips. I was just concentrating on the chat. I just didn't quite hear what you said.
The name of the Japanese pottery. Yeah, I think so. Where they double, triple fire. They keep putting it in the kiln several times.
I'm not quite sure where you're going with that. I'm not. No, I can't answer.
Okay. I mean, we've done a broadcast. It's probably been a year or two ago, but it has imperfections in it. And we did
that's the beauty of him. The beauty is in its imperfection.
Right.
The perfection is its imperfection, essentially.
Exactly. So for me, that's the people that come in our lives, as imperfect as they may be, or as imperfect as we are. There is definitely benefit in that. And I don't believe, like Jen said, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe things happen for a reason. And as believers, we're promised that he works out everything for our good, for his children, even though it may not seem like it in the moment. And I'll also say that I don't know that anyone learns, when we talk about the mountaintop experience, the pinnacle of everything's good. And we talk about the in-betweens, the valley, the valley of the shadow of death. It's not just about facing death. It's about facing storms and troubles. And my experience is we learn more from those than we do from when everything's going well. So no coincidences, in my opinion. And we hopefully, if you're paying attention, you learn from all your interactions with others. I'll just say one more thing about that. As I've met some people that were not good for me, but I learned from those people. Even if it's to learn what things that I don't want to allow into my life, it's still learning. I really honestly would say that of those bad people that I've allowed into my life, I wouldn't change a thing, because I look at it as I picked up something from them that I needed. I'm not even thinking about what they picked up from me, but I'm thinking of myself in that. I guess that's selfish. What did I learn from that interaction? So there we go. Okay, Glenn, what's your answer to this one?
I don't really know, but it sure feels like there's a reason when you look at what transpires, because each person that comes has got something to share with you if you're prepared to listen to them. It's not about good or bad. It's the fact that as you said, you can learn something from every person regardless. So I don't know, but it feels like there's a reason.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, good answers to the first one. Just want to say a quick hello to our friend Annette, who popped in the chat while we were answering the questions. Hello, Annette. Hope you're doing all right. Hello. All right. So we got through the first one. We're scrolling down. Okay, so I'm going to read the quote again. Just to remind everyone, for those of you just coming in as well, the quote is, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." Pablo Picasso. So now the question, thinking of Picasso's quote, what of those gifts, if any, can be given away? We'll start with Jen this time. Thinking of your gifts, which one of those, if any, can be given away? What do you think?
All of them.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Sure.
I think there's so much in us that could be a gift. That can be.
Yeah.
And when we're interacting with people, whether for a short time or even if it's unsavory, depending on how we conduct ourselves. I think that can even be a gift. It could be a people watching the interaction or the altercation. It could be a gift to the person that's maybe not in a good place and they don't treat you very well, but you move along and it somehow ministers to them, whether they realize it in the moment or later. All of it can be a gift, I think.
Sure.
And I think it's important to look at it like that too, instead of just random happenings. I think if you can gather that it's just this precious thing, life experience, connection with people, being open, authentic, all that stuff. I think it makes a person more aware of what they do and say and how they react and how they conduct themselves, how they love, how they forgive, all of that. So I think it's all good. It's all
Beautiful.
good.
It's all good. It's all good in the hood. So.
It's all good, but no.
Thank you, Jeff.
Every time I say that now, it's all good. I think of them like, oh no.
Well, the one I don't, it's all good is okay with me. The one I don't like is no worries.
Oh yeah.
No worries. It's all good. It's okay. I mean, it essentially means the same thing, but yeah. All right, Marisa, you're up next. If you would like to answer this one, what of those gifts, if any, can be given away?
Whatever you're giving out of love is a good gift. And like Jen said, that can be many things. That can be your time.
Yeah.
That can be a listening ear.
Sure.
That can be the gift of mercy and compassion. That can be visiting someone when they're sick.
Yeah.
Or in prison or in the hospital or just sick
Right.
at home, taking that time
Sure.
to give of what God has blessed you with. If you're an artist, sharing your art with the world. If you're a musician, sharing your music. I think part of our mission is to go ahead and embrace the gifts we've been given instead of, I think a lot of people brush them off as not important, or it's just, especially with creative things, oh, that's just a hobby. You can't make money doing that. I don't think that's the correct way to think about things like that, because if you have a gift, even if it's, in a creative fashion, that's something you're meant to not just do well in and practice and make a living, with, but you're also supposed to share that with other people. It's all about giving of yourself, no matter what your gift is.
Agreed. That's good.
That's good. Good stuff.
That is very good. Appreciate you sharing that. I'll go next, and then we'll ask Glenn last on this one. He knows what questions are coming, so he should have plenty of time to prepare. Again, I'm not going to disagree with anyone. I think it's everything. It's everything that we're able to give. I have wrote a play once, and when we were going over the lines, I added a line after having a conversation with a friend, and it was, the name of the play was Delayed, and it was about all these people that get snowed in an airport. And this one guy was a YouTube vlogger. This was back in the early 2000s, and they still called it vlogging. Now it's just anybody has a YouTube channel. They can, do whatever they want. But in particular, this person, this character, would film people in public places, and he would add it to his YouTube page. And at rehearsal, the actor playing this part was saying that one of his favorite things about life is what he called single-serving friendships. Like if he were traveling at the airport and he went to get a coffee or a beer or whatever, and he struck up a conversation with someone that he would never see again. And some of the best conversations from his perspective were those single-serving friendships. And that stuck with me, and I added the line to the play. Because I thought about the times that I've met people. I used to ride the Greyhound bus when Shannon, my sister, and I were kids. My mom would send us, and it's unbelievable that she did this in a way that when I was 12 and she was 9, that she would put us on a Greyhound and we would travel from North Carolina to all the way to Florida and back. Just the way things are in the world. I mean, I guess we're just blessed that we didn't get abducted or anything bad happened to us. But that being beside the point, we met all kinds of people. Some of them really, really strange and probably mentally ill. And then other people that were very kind and lovely people. And I still remember some of those interactions I had. So the point I'm getting at is that each time you meet a person, whether there's someone you know or it's a stranger, you don't know what gifts you're going to give to those people. Sometimes just listening to a person, unbeknownst to you, is a gift to them. They may be a person that feels marginalized. They may seem like nobody listens to them ever. So for you to just listen to them for however long that period of time is that you're in their circle, you could be giving them an incredible gift. I liked what Marisa said about being an artist. That is giving. When you share, if God has given you that talent, you're sharing that with the world. And you don't know when your art is going to reach someone in a place that they couldn't have been reached otherwise. So anything that is part of your makeup, regardless of what it is, could be a gift to someone else. That's what I think. Good answers from the ladies, especially. All right, Glenn, you're up. What do you think? What of those gifts, if any, can be given away?
I think love encompasses everything that's been said in one word. And I think it's particularly important to keep remembering that giving love away doesn't deplete you. It's the opposite.
Right.
So I think that's a huge feeling that you can give that away, but you don't get left in a blithering heap on the floor because it sucked the life out of you. It's just not the way it happens.
Beautiful.
Because you can give it for free. It costs you nothing. So, there you go.
Thank you. All right. Before we get to the next series of questions, I'm going to read the quotes again. These were taken from the chat. The first one: when dating, it's very important to choose a saved believer, since we're not supposed to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Also, what we don't want to be doing is to be dating someone else's future wife or husband, as the case may be. I know we're not allowed to date unbelievers as Christians. And the last one: it's hard to find women who have the right gospel. I hope I find someone someday. So that's a common theme. So the questions related to that. The first one to Jen, Nez, and Cripps first. Is it okay to date a non-believer if one is open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise? And we'll start with Marisa on this one. What do you think? Is it okay to date a non-believer if one is open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise?
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about dinner, or are we talking about more than dinner? Because, it's okay to have a nice dinner with somebody even if they're not of the same beliefs as you. That's okay.
Sure.
But if you're talking about getting physically intimate with somebody, if you're talking about attempting a monogamous, a marriage-oriented or headed towards that, and becoming, for lack of a better word, yoked with that person, I would say no. Like I said, nothing wrong with having some, fun, nice dinner, go see a movie, whatever. Yeah, okay, that's cool. But if you're getting on board the relationship train, as Christians, we know better than to get saddled up with somebody who's not exactly headed toward the same place. So, yeah.
Do we, though?
My thought, anyway.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. I think that there's a lot of people that, well, maybe they know it, but they just don't choose to obey it, because I just have heard of a lot of people.
Just because we're attracted to somebody or they to us does not mean that A, we're meant for each other, or B, we should ever do anything about it, or C, that that's all that you need. There's a lot of times in my life, well, hey, there's attraction there. What else do I need? Well, we kind of learned about that, didn't we? There's other things we need. But we all learn that one the hard way, don't we? Yes,
Yeah.
we do. But that's another
I
show.
love it. I love it. What about you? What about you, Jen? Is it okay to date a non-believer if they are open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise?
Oh, well, I can only answer from my own perspective. Being a big fat no.
No.
And that's just me from experience. You and I were talking this morning during devotions about both of you. I don't know if either of us have known a man who's been married to an unbeliever. Maybe the stories in our life come in contact. It's been a woman. I had shared with you that my mom has a really, really close friend, Gwen, whose husband was not saved. I don't know what the situation was when they got married. If like she wasn't saved, like neither of them were, and then she becoming a believer, and he wasn't, and he came around and then began to believe on Christ. And it's a beautiful story, but I've also met people where it has been in the beginning, and then the person that wasn't a believer became a believer, and it's a beautiful story. Them watching this beautiful change happen in their, and they didn't want to be left behind, but they also wanted what that person had. But I think, because it's in the Word, I think that God has told us that, we have free will to choose differently, but I think he has chosen to tell us that through his Word for very good reasons. And I think a lot of what is in the Bible is to warn us and to keep us out of trouble, or to keep us from going through, not that God doesn't want us to go through some hardships, but he gives us parameters for protection.
Sure.
Because some people, like for instance, that have been through what I've been through, where someone who said they were believer and they weren't, they were lying and they were mimicking. Sometimes it doesn't end up well. Get killed, they get just murdered by their spouse. That's crazy. So, I do think it's for benefit. What was the original question? I kind of rambled.
You did not ramble. No,
I didn't. Okay, I hit it.
Yeah, you hit it.
Okay, good.
Is it okay to date a non-believer was the question. If they're open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise. Yeah, you answered it.
I definitely think we have free will. I don't know if I would say it's okay, because I think it's, would you say?
Try again, Jen. I think she's still here in the studio. Jen, I don't know if you can hear me, and I don't know if I think you're using my phone. Sometimes you used to disconnect the Wi-Fi, and that made it come in better. I don't know.
Okay, hold on.
I could hear most of what you were saying, but it's kind of going in and out sometimes. So I think you know how to bring up the settings, and you can turn the Wi-Fi off on mine if you're using my phone. That's how you're connected. It's not an Apple phone. My wife has an Apple phone, and I have a Android. And when we got phones, we got them together, and I'm not willing to switch. I've never had an iPhone. I've always had an Android, and I have nothing against Apple products per se, but it's just I'm used to this Android, and so I've never wanted to. Okay, hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm gonna. Okay.
Oh man, I'm in here twice.
Okay, do you want me to remove the other one?
You're not echoing, so I think it's okay.
It dropped off itself. Okay, great.
Okay, so I was asking you, do you think that it's a command of God for us to be yoked with an unbeliever, or do you think it's a, I mean, because when you bring free will into it, it's like, is it a command Or is it something that God is letting us know, hey, I'm giving you a suggestion, which is good, but it's up to you with free will to decide?
Great question. In my opinion, it is a command. Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now, people can argue about what that means. Does that mean not to have friendships with an unbeliever? Does it mean, as Marisa was implying, you can have a dinner with an unbeliever, as Paul would agree. Paul had very strong beliefs about not having dinner with a false prophet. That's different. But as far as a non-believer, he was like, I'm all things to all people. So he was saying, of course, he eats with unbelievers. He doesn't have an issue with that. It's when someone knowingly is leading people astray is worse than an unbeliever in Paul's mind. So having dinner with one or having a friendship with one seems to be different to me, according to Scripture, than being in a deep relationship with an unbeliever is different. So we have free will, whether it's a command or suggestion. We have free will either way. And I think, as you said, Jen, it is a protection. God knows how it's going to turn out. And I'll just tie this into my answer. So Jen and I went to the chiropractor this weekend, and we were talking about the show, and I forget how we got on the subject, but our chiropractor was talking about a couple that she knew that had gotten married, and one was a practicing Jew and the other was a Catholic. And she was saying that, when they first met, they were like so in love, and the chemicals were going, and they thought, we can overcome, love can overcome anything. And they got married, and, then they quickly realized that, with having kids and with families and all that, it's a bigger problem than it seems like to have different beliefs, even as a Catholic and a Jew. I think it's problematic, and I believe God knows that it's problematic. And I agree with you, Jen, that it's for our protection more than anything else. He knows how it's going to turn out, and he wants to protect us from that. It's my opinion. Other people might have a different opinion than that, and that's awesome. We all have different opinions, but that's what I think. I think that it's more difficult to knowingly get into a relationship. I like the way Glenn phrased the question. If they're open and honest about where they stand beliefs-wise right from the beginning, then you have more information. It's a completely different thing to lie, as Jen was saying, lie about who you are, and then you get into the relationship/marriage, and then oh, I got you. I don't believe what you believe at all. That's lying to get someone into a position. So I respect a person that's honest about their beliefs right from the beginning. And I think that those that have not been married should make it a point to ask the question. What are your beliefs? I mean, don't people talk about that now? I would think that they do. Somehow spiritual beliefs would come up in a conversation. Maybe there are people out there that don't care either way. They just get into the relationship, and a person's spiritual beliefs don't enter into it. For me, they did. And I wouldn't say so much that my first wife lied as much as misrepresented the level of her beliefs. I think she really thinks she's a believer. If you ask her, are you a Christian? She would say yes. Well, so would about 65-70% of Americans would say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. And when it comes down to it, where the rubber meets the road, they really have no idea what it means. They think because they were born in a supposed Christian country, that makes them a believer, or they're born into a Christian family. Well, we went to church, that makes us believers. I would disagree with that. It doesn't make you a believer. What makes you a believer is to actually believe. Shocking, right? You actually believe that Christ died for your sins and you accept his gift. And that's what makes you a believer. It's not just being born into a family that went to church. Going to church, I mean, if that were true, there are millions of people that go to church and have been to church many times, and they're dead in their sin because they don't believe. So that's my opinion on that.
Can you hear me
All
okay?
right. I can.
Okay. I was going to mention that Dr. Stewart was talking about non-negotiables, and she was saying
right.
that there's a lot of people that don't, they talk about their food and movie and music, but a lot of times people don't talk about the really, really important stuff.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. So our chiropractor, Dr. Stewart, really liked the non-negotiables conversation. It made her think about her own non-negotiables, and she was sharing with us that, she dated around a while, and then she made this literal list of non-negotiables, the things that she would not be able to handle in a relationship, and she stuck to it. So yeah, there we go. Okay, you're up next on this one, Glenn.
Yeah, this is I'm trying to frame in my mind how I'll approach this one. Okay, let's put up a hypothetical. Okay, which has some basis in truth.
Sure.
Say I'd connected online with someone for a year, whatever, maybe more, etc., and got to know them really well, but the topic of beliefs hadn't been part of the discussion. So then it comes to the point where I'm going to meet this person, and as part of, and this can go a number of ways. If the person first up says, well, this is my beliefs, and I say this is mine, and she says, well, I can't, this can't go any further, I'll be on my way, I'd say, great. I'd say that I respect that. That's 100%. Thank you so much for being honest with me, because otherwise it's a total waste of space. We're both wasting each other's time. So there's that scenario. There's a scenario that person might say, oh, would you like to come home for coffee? And they might say, but okay, you can come home for coffee, but because of my beliefs, I can't sleep with you. I'd say, yeah, sure, that's not a problem either. I respect that.
Okay.
Then there's the third scenario where they say, would you like to come home and we're going to sleep together? And I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to do it, because it's up to. I don't feel like I'm compromising anyone if they don't speak their truth.
Right.
And when they speak their truth, I respect it, and that's just how it works for me. It's a piece of cake. So, what do you think of that?
Well, I would agree with you. Well, you're an unbeliever. So from your perspective, you're just respecting the other person's belief, and if it doesn't go against what you believe, then you're just going along with whatever they lay down as their boundary. You're okay with that, right?
Exactly. If they put the boundary up, I will never overstep it. I respect it.
Right.
So, yeah, but they have to speak up. That's the thing. If you're attracted to someone and you don't speak up, it's not fair.
No, I agree.
Completely.
Now, I'm going to ask you, because I already know the situation, but when you were speaking with my mother, and you've talked about this on the broadcast before, that when you guys got involved, I mean, I think that you knew where she stood with her beliefs, but when it came down to it, she gave you the ultimatum. She wanted you to convert to Christianity in order to be with her, right? So how did that make you feel when that came up?
Confused.
Right.
Because in all of our association, she had never raised it as a major issue. Now that may well be because she thought, oh well, he's probably just going to see the light and turn this way.
Right.
But it wasn't. But if I had more information, it would have saved an awful lot of confusion and a lot of heartbreak for both of us.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. But if you said what did I take from that? I would say my life. So
Yeah.
I couldn't for one instant be critical or down on any of it, because I'm a different person because of it.
Yeah.
So I received the gift.
Yeah.
I gave the gift. That can't be bad.
No.
So
No, and I appreciate you being transparent about the question. I just being honest, I think that what my mom did, the way that she did that, was totally wrong, and I told her so. I mean, she can make that decision. She can set that boundary for herself that she's not going to be in a deeper relationship with someone that doesn't believe. But, you know, to let the relationship run its course and then get to a certain point without putting it up front at the beginning, I didn't feel like that was handled correctly. But, I mean, you're not going to be disingenuous. You're not going to just say, oh, yeah, but a lot of people would. A lot of people would just pretend, like Jen was saying. A lot of people would just have done that, have pretended to believe something to be with someone. And then when it comes down to it, they might put up for a while that they're a believer, and then they can't keep it up for long, because these things come up, especially if you have children. You know, what are you going to raise the child as? You know, Jewish or Catholic? I mean, these things are real life issues that arise. You know, what kind of school are they going to? Are they going to go to public school? Or are they going to go to a Catholic school, or you know, where are they going to go? How are we going to raise them? By what morals and values are you going to raise them? These are all things that certain people should take into consideration. So when it comes down to it, the part of Glenn's question I appreciate the most is the part about being open and honest where they stand beliefs wise. Then if you're open and honest beliefs wise, then you're giving the other person the opportunity to say, oh, well, it's a boundary of mine that I can't do this if this, and this. But if you're hiding that, then you're being disingenuous. And the whole relationship is based on a lie right from the beginning. Or some might argue that and say, well, it's not really a lie. It's a conscious omission. Either way, to me, that's a lie. You're lying about who you are as a person, and the relationship, in my opinion, cannot survive on that.
I think it's important too, Cripps, to say that just because the circumstances prevail in the way that they do, it doesn't mean that the gift of love is rescinded. You don't take it back. You've given it freely, and that doesn't go away.
Right.
It's like the end quote said. It stays with you forever.
Right.
And it is a guide. It's just how it is. If you go into denial, it's going to make you worse. So
exactly.
Why not just say, well, this is how it is, and it's if you weigh the pros and your cons, there are so many pros, the cons seem insignificant, regardless of where you end.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, Glenn. Before we move on to the next question, I'm going to read Annette. I put it up on the screen there. Annette says, I would rather be with an honest unbeliever than a dishonest believer, or one who abandons the plan. I'm not sure what that last part is, but the first part, I can readily agree with that. I have often said, Glenn makes it very clear that he's an unbeliever, but he is honest. He is upfront, in my opinion. And I have known a lot of fake believers in my life, or people that they might think that they're a believer, but they're some of the most dishonest, backstabbing, lying, thieving people that I've ever met. And to me, that's way worse. In fact, when I was a teenager, I had been betrayed by people, so-called believers, because I had gone to a Christian school and been involved in churches, and I didn't want any part of it. So a lot of my friends were confessed unbelievers or reformed Christians, because I was just tired of it. And, you can judge me for that if you want, but I agree with what Annette said. And in the case of Glenn, I've made it very, very clear that he acts more like a believer than some so-called Christians. So, Annette, your point is taken very well, at least for me. The part is the honesty part. Anybody can say they're a Christian. Your fruit is presented. The way that you live, the way that you treat other people, will show what your beliefs really are. And unfortunately, this word Christian, in my opinion, is so loosely based in the truth about the way a person lives. I do prefer the term believer or unbeliever, because to me, that's what it's more about than whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, because that word means so many different things to different people. So I personally use the term believer or unbeliever. It's more descriptive. Again, because there are so many people that tag themselves with the moniker Christian, and they're anything but, in my opinion. All right, so there we go. Thank you for your comment, and that was very good. All right, next question, and this is the one I've been waiting for. I like this last one, but this one I have a lot to say about, but I'll save mine next to last. We'll let Glenn go last on this. Is it okay to connect with someone who has the wrong gospel? And we'll ask Jen first on this one. Jen, is it okay to connect with someone who has the, quote, wrong gospel, end quote?
Well, define connect.
Yeah. I knew that was coming, because if Marisa answered it, she would say, well, what are we talking about here? And I think that's a great question. What do you mean? So let's ask Glenn. Glenn, what do you mean by the word connect with someone who has the wrong gospel?
Connect can be anything you want it to be. It's a loose word, deliberately.
Okay, deliberately. So that means, Jen and Marisa, that you can answer from your own perspective. Whatever connect means to you, you can answer from that perspective.
Cool. So I would say to a degree,
We can't hear you, Jen.
You can't hear me?
Now I can. I couldn't hear anything for a minute.
The Wi-Fi has been a little funky. I disconnected the Wi-Fi a little bit ago, and it disconnected me from the StreamYard. So,
oh no.
Okay, it just went back up. Now it went back down. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, just let me know if you're having trouble hearing me.
Okay, right now it's good.
Okay, so I would say, refresh the question for me.
Oh, sure. So is it okay to connect with someone who has the, quote, wrong gospel, end quote?
I think yes, to a degree. Not to browbeat them or anything, but I think it's important as a believer to love people that have the wrong gospel and try to be a part of them straightening it out.
Yeah.
And how can you do that? I mean, are we supposed to just throw in the towel and abandon people that have their,
Right.
If they're stuck in they're arguing and it's being mean, that's one thing. I think it's important to try to talk with them and have discussions and stuff. Now, if it were just connecting, not in the sense of talking about different doctrines, if it's just a friendship or, that kind of connecting, I would say if you're firm in your doctrine, and you feel comfortable with it's not, I don't know, this one's a hard one because it's if it challenges you and it starts making you question, I know sometimes it's good to be touched, but other times it's dangerous. I think there's a lot of things it depends on, but gosh, that's a hard one to answer.
Yeah.
I'm good. Go, girl, get him.
I think it is. I think it is a hard question, but thank
Yeah.
you, Jen. So we'll ask Marisa what she thinks. What do you think? Is it okay to connect? And again, the word connect, you can look at that any way you want. Answer from both perspectives if you want. Who has the quote wrong gospel, end quote?
Glenn, what does it mean to you? I want to know before I answer this question.
What is your real question? What does it mean to me? What does what mean
connect? What do you mean when you're saying connect? What did you mean when?
Okay.
What does it mean to you?
Okay, well, let's note it down to something I'll put in chat and make it easier. Would you be prepared to marry someone you perceive as having the wrong gospel?
Okay, that's what it means.
No,
to
it's
you.
not what I originally meant, but I think that makes it easier for everybody.
Well, that still doesn't answer my question. What does it mean to you? What's it mean to you, Glenn?
Hang on.
To connect.
What are you asking? I'm totally confused by what you're asking me.
What
does the wrong gospel mean to me? Is that what you're asking?
Connect. What does the word connect in this context, in this question, mean to you specifically?
Join with them in any way or form. That could be anything from having a conversation to getting married. Anywhere between those two.
Okay. All right. I'm not breaking your balls. I just wondered what you were thinking.
They're broken.
For you.
They're broken.
Okay. When I hear the word connect, I think of like love connection and connecting online, adding people to your friends list. There's many ways you can connect.
Exactly. That's
with
the point.
People.
That's the point. There are many ways.
He wants you to answer from the whole spectrum of how you see it, Marisa, as far as the word connect. What does that mean? Like you might think, well, sure, if someone has the wrong gospel, it's okay for me to be friends with them, but it's not okay for me to marry them.
Let me lay this on you. You can have a connection with somebody that you've never met. You can have a connection with someone that you work with. You can have a connection. A connection doesn't necessarily mean that relationship is going to progress into something dating or romantic or sexual or marriage or what have you.
Right.
Connection to me means your spirit hones in on the other person's spirit and hey, we like each other, we have things in common and there's a connection there. We're charged with electricity, so are other people. Our spirits are energy, and that connection, I take it to mean quite literally. When we reach out and we can sense that we've got things in common to talk about. You can connect to people you're not dating. You can connect to people, in any walk of life, anywhere. So that's what that means to me. Should you be connecting body parts with someone who you are not of the same belief system? If you're different religions, one of you's not religious, one of whatever. I'm just saying, back to the unevenly yoked thing. I'm gonna have to say no. As much fun as it might be, and woo and yay, and then that great. But if you're not on the same page spiritually, sexuality. At its core, from a Christian perspective, it's all about spirituality. It's all about being one with each other. It's supposed to be with a husband and wife, not just two connecting, strangers who met on the internet. And hey, let's meet up and hook up, and that's what dating sadly has become in today's world. And we'll talk more about that next week. Okay. But So I don't think we can really control with whom we connect with. I think that's something that just either happens or it doesn't. But if you mean connect as in get serious, intimate, physical, in a committed relationship, marriage, with someone who's not a believer or not the same as you, I would say no. So that took forever to say that, but okay.
No problem.
Good stuff, though.
Thank you, Marisa. Okay, my turn. Okay, so as far as the wrong gospel, so the question implies that I think that they have the wrong gospel. I'm assuming that. So I have what I believe to be the gospel. And if pressed, I would say that I got that interpretation from scripture. But then I know that other people have the same scriptures that I have, and they interpret, in my opinion, the wrong way. Okay. So I'm fully aware that I'm not the arbitrator of the gospel. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a teacher. So my interpretation is my own, based on my own study, my own relationship with God. So I realize that not everyone might agree with me, but the question isn't asking what other people think. It's asking what I think. So if I know someone has the wrong gospel, that does not prevent me from having a connection with them. In fact, I would say that a lot of the people that I am connected with have the wrong gospel, just in my opinion. What makes a difference to me is if they have the wrong gospel and they are so dogmatic about it that they are teaching other people out of their misinterpretation of scripture, making themselves, and they're aware of it. If they're aware that they have the wrong gospel and they're preaching for filthy lucre, in other words, money, they're getting money out of it somehow, or they have a YouTube channel and they're going on and on and on. And we've had these conversations where they've been called out and someone says, hey, you're preaching the wrong gospel. That's not right. As scripture tells us to do. If someone's preaching the wrong gospel, scripturally speaking, we're supposed to go to them and let them know that what they're doing is wrong. And if they don't respond positively to that, we're supposed to bring some friends with us. Now, this is as if we're part of the same body of believers. And if they still won't listen, then we're supposed to not have anything to do with them, scripturally speaking. So for me, a lot of times if someone has the wrong gospel, they're not part of the same body that I'm a part of. So I don't cast someone out if they have the wrong gospel, especially if they're not teaching it to others. I don't necessarily say I'm not going to be friends with someone, but just like Annette said, she said that she would rather have a connection or a relationship with someone, an honest unbeliever, than a so-called Christian that isn't honest. And I feel the same way. Someone that has the wrong gospel, I can have a relationship with them more easily than I can with someone that claims to be a Christian and claims that they have the right gospel and they're teaching that, they're spreading that gospel to other people. There are plenty of people that have the wrong gospel, but that's just what they believe, and they're not trying to get anyone to believe what they believe. That's not important to them. That's a completely different thing than someone that's trying to get other people. They're leading other people down the wrong road. I can't abide that, just personally. So for me, that would be the deal breaker, so to speak. That would be where I'd have to draw the boundary for myself.
That's a good point.
Okay. So, Glenn, you're last up for this one. What's your perspective on this whole wrong gospel thing?
Don't care. I just say I treat people as I find them. I'm not, if someone's dishonest or not authentic, I don't care what they believe. The fact is I'm out of there.
Right.
So I'll hang around with anybody, regardless of what they believe, if they demonstrate that they are a decent and good person.
Right.
And have values.
Right.
It's not a problem.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah.
If you people here weren't like this, I wouldn't be here for a second.
Right. Yeah.
And that means that you're understanding, tolerant, all of those things that I believe the Bible teaches. You're espousing them 100%. So it's
right.
very comfortable. But I could go to some other channels and say I would be very, very uncomfortable and I wouldn't last 5 seconds because they're just sprouting garbage.
Me neither. So thank you for saying that. we only have a 2-hour broadcast, and an hour that's already in the can here, so to speak. But I'll just say what I'll stand by what Glenn just said. And this is where the frustration comes from for me, that there are a lot of YouTube channels and other groups and churches and youth groups and devotional groups out there that claim to be Christian, and like I said, they're anything but. And especially in chat rooms on some of these so-called Christian channels, you go in there and you don't believe what they believe, and they tear you to shreds. They rip you to shreds, like wolves like you're the sheep and they're the wolves. And the Bible warns us of this. Jesus said to his own disciples, he said, "I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves." So this is not a new concept. This has been this way for a very long time, that there are people out there, there are just unsaved people. They just don't believe. They're not out there trying to destroy anyone else. They just don't believe. There are people out there that say they believe, and they are trying to destroy other people. They are representing themselves as believers, and they are anything but. Those are the ones that the Bible warns us of to stay away from. Those people that are wolves dressed like sheep. And these are not all of them, but most of the mega pastors, the mega churches out there, the people that have the YouTube channel that are leading people down the wide road, which leads to destruction, in my opinion. And there's a lot of them out there, unfortunately. Those are the ones that I would advise people to stay away from. They are, to use Glenn's words, these are unauthentic or non-authentic people. They are full of lies and distasteful comments and venom and backbiting and betrayal. And it is pervasive from what I've seen. So, yeah. Before we move on, I want to read Believe's statement. He says, "I would want the one essential doctrine to be paramount in the relationship if marriage is on the table." So that's clear and concise and right to the point. So an agreed upon the one that he's stating it from the idea that there is only one essential doctrine. Now I would agree with him. There is only one essential doctrine, but there are more than one that are presented. I'm sure he would agree with that. We've heard these other gospels, and biblically speaking, in Paul's day, he spent most of his letters have warnings about these other doctrines. There's all kinds of them out there, and we have to be careful what we take on and who we hang out with when it comes to having another doctrine, another essential doctrine. So to me, the doctrine is quite simple. It can be quite simple. Christ alone, through faith alone, with nothing added. We don't bring anything of our own works into the equation. It is all done by Jesus, and we're not going to stand before him and be questioned and say, well, didn't we do all this stuff? Didn't we do all these wonderful works? Because the works don't save you. So it can be very simple, but people make it very complicated, and they throw all these other things in it. It's very simple. Christ did the work, and all we must do is believe it and accept it. And that's it. That's as easy as it gets. So anything apart from that, to me, is the wrong gospel. Pretty simple. Okay. That was a great one. I love that one. We spent a little bit more time on that one because it's, to me, that's an important one. Next question. If God is all-knowing, would he not choose who he sends to you? Do you think God is inviting you to experience all connections for a reason, notwithstanding you may have personal conviction about doing so? And we'll go with you first, Jen, and we'll hope that your connection is strong enough to answer this one. So
read one more time.
yeah, Glenn is, for the sake of this question, assuming that God is all knowing. If God is all knowing, would he not choose who he sends to you? Do you think God is inviting you to experience all connections for a reason? So in other words, he knows all. So anyone he sends to you is for a purpose. And is he inviting you to experience all connections for, is there a reason why he's inviting you to experience all connections for a reason?
I think he is, but it gets a little, I don't know if it's the word dicey, but considering there's free will, we have these conversations about if illustrating certain things, does that free will? Where do those two things know? Does that make sense?
Say it again. Say the last part. You were breaking up. I'm sorry, babe.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry about that. So if is orchestrating.
I can't hear you at all now.
Okay, hold on. Let me leave and come back.
That's so frustrating. All right. Well, she's leaving and coming back, and what we'll do is we'll go to Marisa, and then we'll try Jen again once she comes back in. Marisa, this question is for you. If God is all knowing, would he not choose who he sends to you? Do you think God is inviting you to experience all connections for a reason, notwithstanding you may have personal convictions about doing so? What do you think?
God allows what he allows. Some people he brings in himself, and like I said earlier, sometimes he allows for the devil to bring in people our way that aren't good for us, that we still need to learn from and encounter and deal with for our betterment, for our temperament, for our gaining wisdom and knowledge.
Sure.
Yes, God certainly knows all and is ultimately in full control. But we're going through here this life and making our own choices.
Yeah.
God does not control our choices. We have our own free will.
Yeah.
And so it's really. I mean, he knows. There's not anything we go through he doesn't know. But it's not God sending everybody.
Right.
Some people are sent that are not from God, but we still need to learn from them anyway. Am I missing part of the question?
I don't think so. It just, if God is all knowing, would he not choose who he sends to you? Do you think God is inviting you to experience all connections for a reason, notwithstanding you may have a personal conviction about doing so?
He's got a reason for all of it. So I think I said
you got
what
it.
I needed to say.
Yeah. All right, Jen, let's try you again. Let's see if you're coming through now.
How am I sounding?
Right now, good.
Okay, good. Well, I caught the tail end of Nez's comment, and she was saying what I couldn't say. I completely agree. I don't think I think there's a certain amount of orchestrating, but it's not to the extent where his orchestrating things and allowing things doesn't affect our free will.
Right.
So,
agreed.
So that's my answer.
Thank you, Jen. Well, you were coming through fine just then, so thank God for that. Okay, so from my perspective, I agree with the ladies on this. I do believe God is all-knowing, and I believe that nothing is a coincidence. I believe that everyone we meet is there for a reason, even if it's a single-serving relationship. We only meet the person for a short time, and we should be treating everyone in a kind manner. We should be using the fruits of the Spirit that God gives us in every interaction. Now, I say that when you guys know that I have been open about times when I have not done that, i.e., road rage incidents. Now, it's been a long time since I have allowed that to control me, but it's still something that comes up. And what it is that annoys me is people feeling like they are so entitled. That really bothers me. And in the past, I let it control me, and I was aware of it the whole time. But as I've gotten older and more mature, I think it's gotten a lot better. But I'm just saying that I'm not a perfect person. That's the reason I brought that up. So I am going to do the same thing I expect other people to do as believers, as people that claim to be believers. We should treat people the same in whatever situation that we're in. And regardless of what my personal convictions are, I don't know by looking at someone whether they're a believer or not a believer, false gospel or not a god. I mean, these are for people that you tend to spend more time around, that you might find out what they believe. I have met a few people that walk up to you and say, "Hey, do you know Jesus is your personal savior?" Those are interesting conversations, because I'm always curious to know what they feel as a relationship with Jesus. And sometimes I get an answer that I can agree with, and other times I don't. There's a lot of people out there that profess to know what a relationship with Jesus looks like. So anyway, in answer to the question, yes, I do believe that God brings people into your life for a reason, whether believer, non-believer, whatever, and there's a purpose for it, always a purpose for it. And I agree with Marisa that sometimes Satan will bring someone, he'll allow someone or bring someone around to tempt you. I've had that happen as well. But as believers, God uses everything for his glory and for our good, in my opinion. So it all ends up working out, even if you pay some consequences for making poor decisions like I have done in the past. Fortunately, I've learned from all of them. If you're paying attention to the mistakes that you make, they're all for your good, to help you be a better person, better believer, if you're paying attention. So that's my answer there. All right, Glenn, how do you want to answer this one?
I'll try to keep it simple. I just say that from myself, I think believers have just as much to teach me as unbelievers. So you go with it.
Sure.
Why would you reject the opportunity to learn from someone just because of what they believe? It's crazy stuff. It's like chopping your head off.
Right.
So
yeah.
I just can't see it. I can't see why. Look, I can understand the dynamics of what you all say, but there's got to be a balance somewhere, surely, where you can listen to them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can weigh more in on that one, because the very channel that everyone who's listening, we're not a huge channel, obviously, but there are people that come back every week, and we get about, I don't know, 50, 60 views for each broadcast, roughly. Some are more than that, some are less, but it's about that. And I got a lot of flack from other circles that I run in, quote unquote Christian circles, people with other broadcasts, some I've been involved with from time to time in the past. And I had a lot of criticism for having an unbeliever as part of the channel. I've also gotten flack, not just about that, but about that this particular broadcast isn't focused on the gospel, or essentially that it's not a quote unquote Christian channel. And my answer has always been the same. I feel like there are plenty of people out there that are doing the Christian channel thing. YouTube, there's not a lack of that on YouTube. And if I run into anyone and they don't know the gospel, I'm more than happy to share it with them if they want to hear it. But I do not feel led. I do not want the extra scrutiny that comes with being a teacher or a preacher. I have not felt that call on my life. So True Story Live, as I've said on more than one occasion, was set up in the first place to get true stories from people and share them live. That's literally what the channel True Story Live, that's what the name means. I wanted to share people's stories live. That was why it was set up. And I couldn't get people to share the stories. So we tell our own stories and we do our own write-ups and we share things from our perspective. And when the channel first started, Glenn's section was ask an atheist, I think is what we called it. Ask an atheist. And I thought it was interesting because everyone else on the panel were believers, and we had the one atheist, quote unquote atheist, on there. And I thought it made for interesting programming to have these discussions. And that's a lot of what we did. And everyone else kind of fell by the wayside, and here Glenn still is, and Jen and myself, and now we have the addition of Marisa, which we're happy to have. Other people have come and gone. We've had other people that seemed like they would make a good addition, and turned out not to be the case, and they have gone on down the road. But the three of us have continued to do this for some reason. So what am I babbling on about? People are going to have their opinions about what others do. And it's no different in Christian circles or quote unquote Christian circles. People are going to criticize you if you do something different. I didn't want to do the same thing as everyone else, and I didn't do that, and I'm not going to do that. If God, told me, hey, I want you to do a Christian channel, a quote unquote Christian channel focused on teaching and preaching and all of that, I would obey him. I would. But I feel like I'm doing what he asked me to do, and I don't lose a wink of sleep over it. This channel, for as few people actually listen to it, it serves a purpose, and I've gotten feedback about that. People that listen seem to like it, and they show up, and there are more people that listen to it than are in the chat. Our chiropractor listens to it because my voice makes her sleepy. So it's just as good a reason as any to listen to a broadcast. If it relaxes people and they, get some good conversations out of what we discuss, then that's good enough for me. God is going to save who he wants to save. He's going to respond. People that respond to the gospel will be saved. Every single one of them. God told Jesus that he won't lose one. That's one of his children. They're all going to be saved. Now, that's not to say that if I come into contact with someone that I don't preach the gospel because God's got it covered. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the fact that I don't have a quote unquote Christian broadcast isn't hurting anyone. When it comes up, how often do we talk about beliefs on this channel? Almost every episode, we're still having these spiritual discussions, and Glenn, as a non-believer, writes them into the write-ups that he does so that we can have these discussions. I think there's value in that. Okay, so I went on.
Chris, can we just address, please? I know it's a little off topic, but it interested me greatly. Something that Nathan said. I don't know if you want to post it. I'll read it, and then it's just up a fair way. But he said, attraction wears off as fast as you can get it. And I replied, sometimes it never wears off. Why would that be? So why do you think attraction in some circumstances never wears off?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I can't say what it is for everybody, but I have looked at this and studied it. In fact, Jen and I, when we met, we had these long conversations about this very topic. And what I'm aware of physiologically, when we meet someone new, the way that God designed our bodies is that these chemicals fire off endorphins and all these lovely, lovely, wonderful chemicals fire off in our bodies when we're attracted to someone physically. And they stick around for a while, and it's different for every person. Sometimes they, stick around for a couple of months, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years, whatever the case may be. But eventually they kind of taper off. So that's going to happen. But if attraction is only physical, then when the chemicals go, your attraction goes. So for me, the attraction should be not just physical. It should be emotional, spiritual, mental, all those other factors. We're not just physical beings. We're spiritual beings in a physical case, for lack of a better word, body, whatever. So we're spiritual beings living a physical existence. So we're more than the chemicals which float around in our bloodstream. So knowing that, hopefully that each person, it's great to have the chemicals, and it's even better to be aware that the chemicals will die down after a while. So your relationship better be based on more than just the fact that you're physically attracted to someone. So in my opinion, the chemicals go away after a period of time. And if your relationship isn't based on more than just the physical attraction, it's not going to last. It just isn't. So in answer to Nathan, it's because that's the way it's arranged. It's if you're an evolutionist, you would say that in order to perpetuate the species, that these chemicals are there so that you can procreate and further your progeny. If you're an evolutionist, you would say that that's the only thing it's based on. If you're a creationist or a believer, you know that God said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And so he does want us to have families and whatnot. But marriage, in my opinion, it should be based on a lot more than just physical attraction. That's my opinion. Anyone else want to weigh in on Nathan's question before we move on?
I would just say I agree with you.
Okay.
Go figure.
Marisa, do you want to weigh in on Nathan's question?
I was thinking of Glenn's question, to be quite honest, of why doesn't, why attraction wouldn't go away. And all I was going to say to that was, when you have love, when you care about somebody, and that relationship deepens and matures and grows, that attraction is going to deepen and grow right along with you. That's all I wanted to say. That's all I had to say about that.
So it's you're answering it differently than I did, but it's when it's not just based on physical love; it's based on deeper things.
Exactly.
When I met Jen, for me, the chemicals were off the charts, and she and I, while we were still dealing with the chemicals, we discussed it. And it was the same for her. So I, having studied this and having felt the chemicals before, I knew that our relationship was based on more than just the chemicals we were feeling. And we talked about it. I don't think that everyone that gets in a relationship is aware of that. What people say is, oh, well, you're going through the honeymoon period. When you meet someone new, it's a honeymoon period. It's going to wear off. It'll be over and you'll be at each other's throats. Well, I keep waiting on that to happen, and it's never happened. We're not at each other's throats ever, because our relationship is not just based on chemicals that we felt. It's based on a spiritual connection, a mental connection, an emotional connection, all these things. And I loved the chemical feeling. The newness of the relationship was wonderful and amazing, and I couldn't breathe, and hands shaking and hard to get words out, and it was scary and wonderful at the same time. But what I love more than that is what I feel for Jen is deeper, and it continues to deepen and grow and change into something more and more wonderful, which with each passing day. And that's my experience, and I wouldn't trade that for the flush of just chemicals, where it's just based on a physical attraction or the newness of a relationship. I mean, people will drop out of marriages or have an affair because they are addicted to the feeling of new love, or the chemicals that fire off when they meet someone new, the attraction thing. I would never do that. I'm aware that feeling, as Nathan, I believe, is aware that those things don't last forever. So if you have your relationship based on something more than that, then that's why they last, because it's not just a physical thing. It's much more. So
I'll add.
Okay. Please.
I find it interesting that the only woman I've ever experienced what I've said before is holistic chemistry without chemicals. A huge chemistry, but no chemicals.
Okay.
Is the one I'm still with.
Okay. Sure.
Can you explain that, Glenn? Like holistic? What means?
It means that the chemistry is not based on physical. It's based on values. It's based on, even you call it spirituality, all of the things that for us made that up. So therefore it didn't have to be based on physical, because that would be automatic. It's like that pyramid, spiritual at the top, physical at the bottom, and all the rest in between. If you connect it up at the top level, the rest of it's just going to be automatic. It just flows through. It's like it just, once you connect up the top, the rest of it's just a piece of cake. It's going to be natural. It's going to just go with it. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. So holistic means it's just like everything. It's not this, oh, well, she's hot. It's nothing like that. She's hot, but because she's got a brain, she's wise,
Yeah,
she's a woman of substance. That's what counts.
yeah.
So it's very, very holistic, means everything. It's just everything about it is attractive.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and it's never worn off. I don't feel any different than I did the first time we got together.
I believe you, because it wasn't based on, like you say, it wasn't based on the chemicals to begin with. You had obviously an attraction, and it wasn't the standard thing that people go in for all the time. I think that's great. It's wonderful.
But perhaps if I hadn't practiced those other ones, I wouldn't have got to the point where I was thinking I wanted more.
Right.
If I hadn't had the experiences that went with it.
Oh, sure.
Went before it. So I'm just thinking, if you don't have experience, it's very difficult, because you've got nothing to compare it with.
Right. That's right.
That's why I feel that people today in this situation, the dating situation, they've got no yardstick. They're only sort of struggling with what they see as their ideals, but they've got nothing of substance to give them information. It's difficult, incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but if I hadn't gotten married that first time, I mean, I feel like I'd still be the same person, but I certainly wouldn't know as much as when I met Jen what I was looking for. I certainly wouldn't have made the mistakes that I already went through by accepting a believer on paper, someone that said, "Oh yeah, I believe." Oh, okay, well, let's talk. Oh, okay, great talks. But when life got hard, she was gone out the door. I wouldn't have known what to look for as much as I did when Jen and I got together. And fortunately, it's a very, very happy story. And I was blessed to have experienced a few things to know what I wanted as a man, as a Christian, as a believer, as a person. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. And I'm sure Jen would say the same thing. She was in a much longer relationship. And fortunately, I don't have to try very hard to do better than he did. Because
You do, though.
I do, because that's who I am. Thank you, Jen. I'm my desire is to be a good husband. It's not just to do better than he did. It's because you deserve to be treated well. You deserve to be loved and appreciated and adored and delighted in. And I want to provide that as much as I can, knowing that I'm not perfect and I never will be perfect, but I'm going to always attempt to treat you with respect and dignity. And he didn't care about those things at all. And a lot of people don't, unfortunately. They don't seem to care about how they treat the person they're with, but I do. And Glenn does. And Marisa, I don't know her as well, but I just from conversations that we've had thus far, I would say that she very much cares about how she would treat someone that she's in a relationship with. Yeah, so there it is. Okay.
There's one from Celine too. She'd like posted. Oh, okay. Go back up. I repasted, except where it went over the 200 character limit. Celine, I never found alpha males attractive. It's about 6 or 7 comments up where I've reposted it. Do you find it? Oh,
Never found. Okay.
That's it. The last word was annoying, I think.
Okay. Never found alpha males attractive. I don't care if people make 6 figures or 6 feet tall, etc. I like a guy to have a fun personality and is personable. I find self-proclaimed alpha males annoying. Yeah. So again, Celine, you're kind of agreeing with what we're saying. I mean, I see the conversation you guys are kind of having in the chat about it. Physical, looks and things like that. In all of my studying of relationships, I've seen this happen a lot where people get married because they're both hot, and then something happens. I mean, just aging happens to all of us, and a woman loses her girlish figure and a man gets wrinkled and old. And then what do you do? If it's all based on if you got married in the first place because of the way someone looked, or Celine brings up an interesting point. If you're marrying someone with 6 figures, you're marrying someone.
What if they lose their job?
Yeah. Because we've seen that happen with 2 recessions in my lifetime that I remember, 2 bad recessions. And I was working in a call center next to people that had over $200,000 a year jobs, real estate. And I worked with someone that had a doctorate in English and had been a professor. And of course they cut professors right away. So we're in the same boat now. I never made 6 figures, not a single year in my life did I ever make 6 figures. And would I like to? Sure, but I'm not going to have that be my main focus for sure. But a lot of people do, and if that's why you're getting married, I certainly have learned by watching it happen to other people. You can lose everything in a heartbeat. It could be an accident that you're in and physically mangled or paralyzed, or it could be something mental, or it could just be the like nobody expected the virus to shut things down for as long as it did. So a lot of people, it changed things. It messed people's lives up, and didn't matter if you were making 6 figures or being 6 feet tall. None of that mattered. It just mattered that, hey, they decided to shut things down, and that's what they did. There's not a whole lot of choice involved around that. So, in my opinion, and they some studies have come out about this, the effect that the virus and being forced into a bubble, whatever your bubble is, it would quickly show up the nature of your relationship. Fortunately for me and Jen, we like our bubble, but I've spoken with other people that there's divorces are up, and so are childbearing. A lot of children born out of the past from 2020 to 2022, and a lot of divorces. So some people made the best of it and spending physical time together and something good coming out of that. And other people, they, maybe both of them worked their own job and they're very rarely spent time together. And then when you're not having to go to a job every day and you're forced to stay at home, and your kids too. Oh, your kids are there with you as well. and they're going to class on Zoom. So yeah, that'll show you what your marriage is made of for sure, I think. Okay. Back to the question. So relationships wise, how do you see your life? Do you offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving the same in return? Is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? What do you think, Marisa? I think you're frozen. Marisa? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Read
there
that
she is.
again. Read that question again.
Sure. Relationships wise, how do you see your life? Do you offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving the same in return? Is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? Several pronged question there, Marisa. So take your time and don't worry about rambling.
We are the gift, and there's many ways we can give of ourselves and give out of love.
Sure.
Do I think God's going to punish us? We certainly can be punished if we disobey and become yoked with an unbeliever. I certainly believe that. I think that's why we're told in Scripture, don't do that. Don't go there. It's going to be bad. So
Yeah.
if you want to take that as being an answer, if God's going to punish us, at least the believers anyway, yeah, I believe that's true. And what was the first part of that again?
How do you see your life? Do you
How do
offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving the same in return? Can you give and receive a gift?
Yes. I try to do what I do, that I know I'm operating in gifts that I have. I try to, at least put the effort in. I try to anyway. I don't always do so well, and I mess up, but I try to be there for the people that I care about in a friendship or a dating relationship.
Sure.
Am I capable of receiving? Yeah, I'm certainly capable. There was a time when I wouldn't think that I was, though. I would think that a lot less of myself. I didn't realize the gifts that I had, and I also didn't think I deserved those things.
Oh, okay.
So I was in a very dark, down place once upon a time. So I think it's a sign of good health, spiritual health, mental, emotional health, if you can answer that question positively and say, yes, I can give that, and yes, I can receive that. Because I know I wasn't always able to say that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. I'll go next on this one. So relationships wise, how do I see my life? Do you offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving the same in return? And then is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? Okay. So the first part, yes, I give a gift every day and I receive a gift every day. In my relationship with Jen, I wake up wanting to give gifts. Whatever gift that she will receive from me is what I want to give. And me being kind and loving and accepting of her, and it's who I am as a person now. What I mean by now is I was alone for a long time, so I would base who I was as a person. I didn't have that mirror right in front of me every day to look at. I mean, I had the real mirror, the reflective surface to look at, but I look at relationships. They can be, if you're paying attention, a relationship is a mirror. Whether you like it, what you see or not, it is a mirror. It shows you who you are if you're paying attention. And so in the way that Jen tells me, you're good, you love me and you're a good husband and things like that, I listen. I listen to what things she responds to, and the things that she gives back to me in return out of her own free will are gifts, and I greedily accept them. And they're wonderful. And every day with her is a gift, and that's the way I see it. in other relationships, it's the same thing. I haven't always done this, but I choose relationships where the other person is willing to give. You can't choose your family, but I have good relationships with my family now. That hasn't always been the case, but it is now. And I like it like that. I like giving as much as I can give. I don't give out of expectation that someone gives something back, but most people that I'm in relationship with now, they give back. They have gifts to offer, and I am able to accept them. The last part of the question, is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? I like what Marisa said. There are consequences for our actions. So if accepting something is being disobedient to God, then yeah, there's consequences for that. But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with accepting a gift from an unbelieving person. I know that Glenn has given many gifts to me. It just is a fact. And I have done nothing but benefit from accepting those gifts, and I don't know that he's ever looked at anything I've given him as a gift, but I try to offer him the same thing he offers me: authenticity and openness and transparency. And he doesn't come to me very often to ask my opinion about things. It happens sometimes, but I would be a person that he could come to if he wanted to, and I'm always open. If he ever needed anything, I make myself available, and that's all I can do. So, yeah. Does he punish you for accepting a gift from someone that doesn't accept him? In this particular case, no, I have not been punished for having a relationship with Glenn. It's been nothing but benefit to me. And I've looked at it from every angle. And like I said, I got a lot of negative feedback about being unequally yoked with Glenn. And fortunately, I did not listen to what other people said, and I looked at those scriptures more. And I feel like I made the right decisions for me. It may not be right for anyone else, but for me, it was the right decision. If my relationship is based on whether someone believes or not, I think I'm very much restricting myself to certain things. And I'll go back to what Annette said. I would rather be in a relationship, and I'm paraphrasing you, Annette, so don't hold me to it. I don't have the quote up anymore. But she said something to the effect of she would rather be in a relationship with an unbeliever, honest, than someone who claims to be a Christian who's not. And I agree with that 100%. And I believe Glenn to be an honest person. And this isn't the Glenn, Praise Glenn show. It's just the best example that I can think of because you guys know Glenn. So it's a perfect example. It's a perfect question to say the things that I just said. So that's my answer. What about you, Jen?
Can you read it again for me, please?
Absolutely. Relationships wise, how do you see your life? That's the first question. Do you offer a gift? Are you capable of receiving the same in return? And lastly, is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him?
Gosh, let's say that just so that I can walk through it. Okay, relationship wise, how do you see your life? Offer a gift. Yeah, I think one to friendships, relationships with people, I do have on my mind giving, giving of my time, my love, prayers. It's not like getting focused,
Say that last part again.
I said it's not what I'm getting focused.
Right. Gotcha.
So I definitely recognize that spending time with someone, even trying to cultivate a relationship, is a gift. And I definitely would say, yes, I'm open to receiving that gift in return. That's what I want. I want it to be a give. not solely focused on only giving or only taking, but if to be a mutually, give and take.
Right.
And is God going to punish you if you accept a gift from someone who does not accept him? When it comes to about here, gift is in like time and love and all that stuff. No, I don't think God would punish you. I think he uses all things.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of where you guys, because I did want to comment on what you guys were talking about when it came to where you guys took last part. Like and I'll what you were talking about with Glenn. Glenn coming into my life personally was a huge miracle, and God really shook up my box that I had him in, because in my before I met Glenn, I didn't realize that I thought this. Like, I never actually talked to anybody about it or anything, but I think somewhere subconsciously I didn't think God would use an unbeliever in my life so miraculously.
Right.
I don't know if I would be out of my abusive marriage if it hadn't have been for Glenn.
Right.
And him sharing and listening and asking me really hard questions. And many of those hard questions he had to ask me over. At the beginning, I couldn't wrap my mind around that I was in an abusive relationship. And I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that I had a choice to change what I was doing. I think the majority of my marriage, unfortunately, I was so focused on, there was a big part of it that was focused on him changing so that I could be okay, because I just was physically and emotionally and stuff just a mess. There was a lot. And even Glenn sharing a lot of correspondence between him and your mom, my mother-in-law, who's no longer with us. That was huge too. It was almost like him sharing that gave me a glimpse into what could possibly transpire if I stayed. And it was so powerful and so eye-opening. And so accepting that gift from Glenn and him not believer was huge, and it really impacted relationship with Christ in an amazing way that I don't think I ever could have imagined. So I did accept it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I know Glenn doesn't believe in God, but I do believe that God used him, and it was just life-changing.
Yeah, I agree.
So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. So it's a line from a movie. I forget which movie. I wish I could remember, but there's a character that says, "Well, I don't believe in God." And he says, "Well, that's okay. He believes in you." Love that.
I forget what movie that's from too.
I think God does want people to believe in him. Obviously, he does. I mean, but if someone doesn't believe, it doesn't mean he's gives up on them. I mean, I think there are people that God knows will never turn to him, and we can have an hour-long discussion about the implications of that. What does that mean? Does God give up on a person? I think he opens it up so that he wants all people to come to repentance, to believe in him, and to have salvation. All people, he wants that, but he knows that not everyone will, and it's up to each person to make that decision for themselves. So these are some great questions. Okay, we're coming down to the end here. Did everyone answer that one? I think everyone did. Glenn, go ahead, Glenn.
But that was very generous what you said, and I would summarize my relationships with one word: privileged. And I find it extremely difficult to think for 1 second that your mum would be punished by God for the relationship we had with me. I just can't see how that would be even. I can't even wrap my head around such a concept. So.
No, me neither. Especially as I've said to you before, I think that I mean, I'm sure there are believers that would disagree with this, but I think that she knows, she's able to see that we're in a relationship and what a benefit that has been. I think that she's delighted by it. That's just what I choose to believe. And there's certainly been no punishment for having that relationship, and I wouldn't change anything about it, just personally. Thank you, Glenn.
Just one more thing. Annette said something which fascinates me, and if you don't mind, I know time's a bit short, but I think it's just so
No.
relevant and worthy of putting up. I just repasted it because I don't quite understand it. So, yeah, comments. Just at the end, I repasted.
Oh, it says, I don't think God punishes us, but the consequences of those things bring death to our lives.
I would have to have more context of what she means by that.
It was when we were talking about, one of the questions was talking about, does God punish us?
Yeah.
Say, I don't think God punishes us, but the consequence of those things bring death to our lives. I think it could be a punishment, but maybe it's not always. Still munching on that whole.
Yeah, I really think it depends on what gift we're accepting. I mean, if you take it down, you kick the can down the road, so to speak, if you're accepting, if part of the gift that you're accepting from someone that refuses to accept him is to be in a marriage or something, then we're back.
Yeah.
We're back to the same command, which is
or if you're
to not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. That's
It may well be more like something Annette said in the past, where she chose the gift from the gift shop, but when she took it home, it wasn't what she thought it was.
Right. Well, buyer beware. I mean, I unless the person lies, I mean, it's up to us to as much as we can when we choose a gift, or when someone offers a gift, to be aware of what we're taking home, I guess. And it's not an indictment against you in that. I've bought things and brought them home, and it wasn't what I expected as well. But when it comes to people, that's a lot more dire situation when you're accepting. When the gift is a person, or they're offering a gift and we're taking it home with us, I mean, that's people's story of their marriage all over. I think a lot of people get into relationships with people and they don't really know what they're getting. I mean, it happened to me. I mean, I've talked about it at length. I didn't wait. And I was getting older, and I was tired of waiting and tired of praying, and I paid the consequences for that. But God is merciful, and He didn't hold it against me forever, for sure.
Well, Annette said you're reaping what you sow, and I'm just thinking, this is tough, but no one says you have to punish yourself for it. That's my comment.
Okay, sure. Okay, we're at the end, and one more thing. So Glenn says, my universe has simple messages. Some are be open to possibility. Outcome is my own business. Live calm. Don't deny truth. Share your gift. What about yours? And we'll ask Marisa first. Do you have any simple messages that you live by? And Glenn gave some examples of his. Do you want to? What do you live by in that way?
Treat people like you want to be treated. The golden rule: do unto others as you have done unto you.
Sure.
And bear in mind that God sees and hears everything. He knows the condition of your heart. He knows the intentions that you have. And I don't know the exact scripture, but there's a scripture verse that talks about the way you treat people you be careful of how you treat other people, because you could be entertaining angels,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
also, however you treat the least of mankind, you're doing that to the Lord.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you got to be extra careful how you treat one another.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm not saying I'm any good at it. I'm not saying, I don't mess up every single day, but
Sure.
I would like to think that's something I'm trying to work on every
Yeah.
single day. So
Gotcha.
I'm trying.
Okay. Thank you. What about you, Jen? What's your universe like?
Yeah.
What? I can't hear you, Jen.
She's got to fix that.
It's never been. It's
You guys
never
hear
been
me?
this bad. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. My phone. I was be yourself, be authentically you. I think that gift that God has created us all very unique and different, and for us to shove that aside and try to be somebody we're not, I think is a slap in his face.
Oh,
And I think we do people a disservice when we aren't ourselves. I people.
hey, babe, why don't you come in here real quick and just answer this last question, because I think it's important. Can you come in here real quick? Just a second, guys. Sorry about that. It's never been this bad. I don't know why. Just
Okay. So I was going to say, I think it's important to be yourself. And I don't know how much you guys didn't hear, but there's a freedom that we give other people when we are ourselves, authentically ourselves. And I've known many people that through their own being authentic, being themselves, it has freed me from many lies that I grew up with. Whether coming from society or books, movies, other people that are playing the fake game, it has freed me from that, and it's given me just such freedom to be myself. And Glenn especially has been really good with hammering into my head that, if people don't like you, if you're your authentic self and people don't like you, then just move along. There's going to be people that come across your path in life that are going to delight in who you are, who your true self is. And they're the people that are worth spending time with and energy on and giving the gift of your friendship.
amen.
So there you go.
Thank you, Jen. That was worth it. All right. Well, Glenn shared his, but if you want to, I'll just say that I'm like a broken record when it comes to this. Authenticity, transparency, openness, treating people with respect and dignity. Those are all important in my universe. I just really, I like the idea of the golden rule. It's so simple, but it's right there in scripture for us to go by. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I mean, they teach us that in Sunday school. It's so simple, but it's so true. And I live by that as much as I can. And I treat Jen how I believe that she deserves to be treated. And it's not just me that decides. It's God that decides. He's made it clear from scripture. If you're using scripture as a model for marriage, it's he wants us to love our wife like Christ loves the church and is willing to lay down his life for her. And pastors, as you've heard me say this, pastors focus on the woman. Well, the woman's supposed to be subservient. They're supposed to be a helper. They're supposed to do this and that. Well, what about the man? He's saying that the man needs to be willing to give up his life for his wife, like Christ gave up his life for the church. That's a lot more than cooking and cleaning and doing what your husband says. It's a lot more serious, in my opinion. So there should be more sermons on that.
And that scripture talks about, if you keep reading through it, it talks about a man loving his wife like he loves his own body. And so when you think about abuse, gosh, what does that say? You know, a husband abusing his wife, what does that say about what he thinks of his own body?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that abuse comes out of self-hatred. I really do believe that. And it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
But I think that if you are able to get to the point where you're abusing the person that you say you love, there's a lot of self-esteem issues there for sure, in my opinion. Yeah. All right. So everyone has weighed in. Glenn, what do you? I mean, you've shared it in the write-up, but why don't you add your final words to that? What's your universe like, other than what you put on the page here?
I agree with what each of you said. I think there's a lot of relevance in it, for sure. Just be cruisy. It's not that difficult. You know, nobody need, well, some do, but not those who have the opportunity don't need to live with angst and stress and
Right.
all this kind of stuff that just eats at you like you know,
Right.
a lot of parasites feasting on your body. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Try to give that the flick.
Yeah.
And be calm, like I said. Be calm. Take the stress away and just be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Agreed.
it's a wonderful place to be. A privileged place.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. All right. So to close, something to think on. How true. And I did read this to begin with, but when I was reading the write-up, I didn't connect all of them together. So I'll do a better job this time. It ends with a quote. Quotes, "My heart is a traitor," the boy said to the alchemist when they paused to rest the horses. "It doesn't want to go on." "That makes sense," the alchemist answered. "Naturally, it's afraid that in pursuing your dream, you might lose everything you've won." "Well then, why should I listen to my heart?" "Because you will never again be able to keep it quiet. Even if you pretend not to have heard what it tells you, it will always be there inside you, repeating to you what you're thinking about life and about the world." And that's from The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That's it for tonight's broadcast, guys. We'll have each of you say goodbye, but just so you guys know, for next week, we will be having Marisa's first offering as a write-up, and we're looking forward to that. So she will be busily working on that before next Sunday, and so we're looking forward to next week. We're glad to have you, Marisa, and we're glad that you're willing to be a part of our little broadcast. Someone said last week that it's evenly matched, two men and two women. I would agree that having those perspectives, those kind of a balanced perspective, is awesome. So. Okay, so Marisa, would you like to take a minute if you have any closing thoughts, and if you'd just like to say goodbye, whatever you wish?
Another great show. Thanks, everybody. I love being part of this broadcast, and I've loved getting to know you all, and I love being friends with all of you. Thank you for making me feel so welcome. As far as tonight's topic, I couldn't wait to get to it. Glenn, another fantastic write-up. Thank you. I made a comment talking about punishment just here in the last part of the chat. Just bearing in mind, I think all of our minds may go somewhere horrible when we hear the word punishment. And you've got to remember that punishment in and of itself is not automatically evil or hateful or abusive. A good parent will administer punishment appropriately out of love to their children when they are in error, when they do something wrong. You know, that doesn't mean you're going to have to cut your own switch and get your ass beat till you bleed. That's not what that means. Sadly, there are parents who do exactly that. But I think it's just important to remember that in the context of the question from the write-up, I think God does punish us lovingly, the way a good father ought to do. So that can be as simple as consequences of our decisions and our choices that we've made that are against what he would have us do or what his word would tell us to do. So I just wanted to throw that last little nugget out there. But thank you,
That's
Glenn.
goodness.
Thanks everybody for joining us tonight here on True Story Live. It will be my second, not my first, my second write-up
that's
coming
right.
up next week. We're going to talk about dating.
There you go.
Second.
There you go.
Number Chuck Woolery, 2 and 2. Thanks everybody.
Right back at you.
Thanks,
2
everybody.
and 2.
Share this out. Yeah, write this out or share it out, tweet it out. I can't share it out. I would, but we don't want my trolls up in here. So please share it out because I can't. Thank you so much. God bless. And what another great show. Thank you, Glenn, for an awesome write-up. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good night,
everybody. Good night.
All right, guys. Another wonderful write-up and a wonderful 2 hours, another 2 hours hanging out with you guys and just all the chats and discussion. I just very much appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who shared. And we're praying for you guys every week, every day actually. And we just pray that God be with you this week and bless you and guide you in all of your ways. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jen. All right, Glenn, say goodbye to the peoples for us. If you have any closing comments, feel free.
Yeah, good night. Oh, geez, I'd love to go on a date with a woman who could just cook me dinner, but alas, one cannot have everything. How your expectations get modified in life.
Right.
Oh, Sandra will laugh when she hears that. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, Glenn. And thank you for the write-up. It's some really, really good questions that sparked some great, in my opinion, some great conversations. And hopefully for all those in the chat, you've got some enjoyment out of there. But most of all, I hope that you think about some of these questions, answer them for yourself. Like I said, we'll be back next week, and Marisa will be doing the write-up again. So we're looking forward to that on dating. I'm happy to see, and I had forgotten that she had already done one. Oh my gosh. So number 2, right back at you, 2 and 2. There you go, Chuck Woolery. That's good. That's a good quote. All right. As usual, if you like the broadcast, please leave a like for us. And the best thing you can do for us if you enjoy these broadcasts is to let someone else know. Friend or family member, just have them come and give us a listen and join us in the chat if possible. We do have people that are never in the chat, but they do listen. So we are grateful for you guys as well. Don't think that but we really like when people ask questions and join us in the chat, because it just spurs more conversation. And also we get a lot of ideas for the things that we talk about from the chat. Of course, you could always, if you had ideas you didn't want to share them in the chat, you can always send an email, and I would be happy to address any questions or topics or anything else that you had. This has been great. Thank you guys again for joining. We'll be back again next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, good night, God bless, and thank you for being a part of True Story Live. Bye-bye.